Well, interesting what they've done at the flax mill, Carl.
Fabulous, fabulous.
It really is. I'm sure many of the visitors will enjoy going there. Now then, our next guest is Kev Burrows from Iron Fire. Kev, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Congratulations, first off, because you've just won 7 Great Taste Awards.
Yeah, it's pretty good going. We've got a good team there, and we really put a bit of effort into getting it right, and a lot of hard work really. So it's nice to have that recognised. I mean, the Great Taste is a really nice award system, and it's not easily won. So to win 7 of them, I think we put 8 coffees in, and 7 of them won Great Taste Awards. It's unprecedented for us, and probably, so it's really good. It means we're doing something right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Take us back to how you started with Iron Fire and how you got into coffee yourself.
I've been into coffee as long as I can remember. I think from the earliest memory of coffee is at the age of 7. I think there was a place in Wolverhampton called Snape's, and he was either before his time or he was way behind his time, because he had this little coffee shop where he used to roll beans up in brown paper and a string, and I used to drag my. I thought it was my mum, but she corrected me last week. She said it wasn't me, it was your nan. So it was my nan that I used to drag into this place just to smell the coffee, quite literally. And it was just the most amazing smell. And to watch this guy taking coffee beans and packing up into beautiful little parcels, old school, with the brown paper and string, and so that's how it kind of started. And I'm sure some of the older people will remember I think it was a blend of chicory and fine coffee. It was a camp coffee.
I can remember my nan having that. Yeah,
that makes me one of the older people. Then excellent.
I mean, I'd sort of, but I've just, I'm the one that eats the coffee chocolates out of the chocolate selection. I've just always had a love of coffee. I mean, to cut a long story short, I went out to Australia. I remember sitting on the plane thinking, I hope they're going to do a nice coffee here in Australia, because I had no idea. When I landed there, it's the culture for coffee there is probably, it was 20 years ahead of what we were in the UK. There was an absolute obsession. Everybody knew how a coffee should be brewed, and they all knew their favourite coffee shop. So it was it kind of just, it really fired me up for something I've got a passion for anyway. And a lot of my friends out there ended up being roasters, quite good roasters and people. So it was just, and it's the science behind it that I found quite interesting, that you can actually take an organic thing and change the flavours of it by the way that you roast. And as soon as I realised there was a thing called the roast profile, so the more heat you put in at certain stages throughout the roast, you can change the characteristics of the coffee. And then in my mind, I wanted to know why, how's this working? And it is, I mean, it's just a little chemical package each coffee bean is, and we're changing all of those. The amino acids are breaking down, the sugars are being caramelised and all of that. So taking that forward to coming back to the UK.
So when did you come back to the UK?
I think it was about 2011. I came back, and I really didn't think there was a market here for coffee. It was I came back and I was like, right, I'm back here in the UK after 10 years of being out in Australia, and what am I going to do now?
And Iron Fire's been going then for how long?
It's kind of in its conception, probably 2012. I spent almost a year and a half, 2 years with an experimental roaster, which was a combination of an air roaster and a halogen, and just seeing what happens when you put heat in at the beginning and then halfway through, and logging all of that and cupping it and that sort of journey. And I honestly didn't think that there was a market in the UK for good coffee. I just really didn't, because I used the stuff that we were drinking back in the, other than London, which has got all sort of a little bit ahead of the rest of the UK. There's a couple of New Zealand and Australian roasters come over to London, so there's a few little pockets of good coffee being done, but I really didn't think there was a market until I started roasting, and quite literally I got people knocking on the door. I was in Ironbridge, hearing that, I hear you roasting coffee. My friends told me this, and it's complete strangers standing there looking at me, and they're like, oh, yeah, okay. So, and these guys were travelling. There was other little roasters spotted around. There weren't many roasters around really, so they were travelling, hours and hours to get to it and to get some decent coffee. That actually, they've already gone down to the dark side. They're into the coffee. So,
but there's more blends of coffee these days than there is brands of ice cream, isn't there?
Yeah,
I mean, how do you decide? I can see here whiskey infused coffee, and
that's an unusual one.
So,
we talk about blends of coffee. Each of these blends, the reason they're actually single origin. So if you can imagine like a whiskey is a blended whiskey and a single origin and a single malt whiskey, similar sort of thing. You blend coffee probably to get a standard taste and to almost to compensate. So some of the, if you start mixing coffees together, it's to get to compensate and try and get the best. All of our coffees, although we call them blends, are single origin, so they're from a single farm. That from, you know, we more or less know the name of the growers, you know, so down to the kids and everything else. Not all of them, but most of them. We've got a good relationship with the people we buy the coffee from. So, and each region, the Colombians and the African coffees will have a different, in broad brushstrokes, a different taste profile. So broad brushstrokes, the African coffees tend to be bright and fruity and
whiskey on the rocks. I like the sound of that.
yeah, well, that was an experiment of ours, and again, it's won a great taste award. That was we got some whiskey barrels in from, and they happened to be from the Loch Lomond whiskey distillery there, and when we got them in, we were going to use them for a display or something. I opened one of them up, and it just hit me, the smell of it. That's stunning, absolutely stunning.
If we had smelly vision now, you'd be able to
be
smell the coffee now.
Yeah,
I tell you what,
that's got a smell to it.
You're
as
saying
well.
that, Carl. Kev, can we make a coffee? Can
Yeah,
we try
yeah,
one?
okay, yeah.
You can't come all this
is
way
where it
out.
goes horribly wrong
Make a
as I try to make a coffee.
I'm also going to talk to you. We're going to interview you and carry on while you're making the coffee. Just make it a bit more
I'll tell you
difficult.
what, we'll do a tutti frutti.
Let's try that.
This
That
is
sounds quite nice.
So this is quite a bright one. It's a geisha bean, which is it's turned out to be one of the most expensive beans there is going, and it's an interesting story in itself, but I won't go into because I don't think we've got that much time. But the geisha bean, coffee bean, is the Japanese market's taken it to, and it's geisha. It's actually a place in Ethiopia, so the way the world comes together. So the Japanese have got into the geisha. So what I'm going to do now is do this is a V60 with a Japanese method of we call it a pour over. It's basically filter coffee, so you put a filter paper in there, and these just for anybody who's interested, you can actually get these for a couple of pounds. There's nothing to stop you making really nice coffee at home. There's no price barrier.
And that just sits on a coffee cup, doesn't it?
Yeah, or if you want to do it really nicely with friends, you can put it on top of a little glass jug as well.
Okay,
But I use this in the morning on a cup.
Yeah.
Measure the coffee in and make sure. So this is an older version of it. So I'll just weigh some coffee in there. So people go mad about getting the proportions right and everything else. The coffee geeks and the guys on. And there is the reason you really do that is because if you get it right, you want to be able to replicate it.
Okay,
so what you did right last time. Yeah,
so about 15 to 1 is what we're going to go
Okay.
for here. So I'm going to go. We pre-ground this about half an hour ago down at the roastery for you.
Real
So
fresh. And your roastery's in Castle Gates, isn't it?
it's Castle Business Park. It's
Yeah.
on, so it's just opposite the Royal Mail Packing office. So we've got 2 units and the beautiful buildings. They're historic buildings. They're the old engine houses. So big. The red brick, big curved windows.
It's down the road from the flax mill.
It is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just down there. Yeah. It's so I'm going now. So basically, I'm going to put this in here.
Yeah.
Tear it off.
And how important is it as well? Obviously, you're going to put some hot water in. What
Yeah.
temperature are we looking at for the hot water?
Well, we've just about gone away with that. With the time we've put some hot water ready in there, and I've got a thermometer on there. So you're looking, ideally, I would say, depending on the coffee again, and these are one of the variables you can play around with, but anywhere between 92, 94 degrees is a good point. Some you can go as low as 80, and it'll extract different levels of brightness and sweetness. So this is a Chemex. It's basically an American from the 60s, and it makes a very clean, bright coffee. So each coffee will be different as well. So basically, what I'm doing now is I'm weighing it in. I've just put a little bit of coffee in there, and because this is super fresh, we only roasted it probably, if not today, yesterday. There's a lot of CO2 inside there, and this is a little bit been ground a little bit fine for how much I'm going to try and make now.
You say on your packaging as well that you're very interested in making sure that it's coffee with a conscience as well. Isn't it? How important is that to your business?
Well, it's one of those decisions. It's expensive if you decide to make that, but it's one of those things. My business partner Joe, who's pushed the business along. I mean, she's a big part of it. I mean, I've got all the ideas and everything, but when I met Jo, she basically took the business and drove it forward for me. But as I said to Jo, it's a decision we've got to make and just go for it. So
what do they call you? Are you a coffeeaficionado? Is that what they call you?
I call myself what is it? What I like coffee. I don't know. I don't like the anything that's too much a coffee consummate. No, maybe. That's,
So as well as roasting coffee, you've also set up a service. Now, I guess this took off during the pandemic, especially where you've actually got a subscription service for the coffee as well.
Yes, that's exactly right.
So how's that going?
Really well. I mean, it's again, we've just got a new website, so it just makes it really clean and easy. So you can change your subscription, you can change the amount of coffee, the different coffees you want, and it basically gets sent to you every 2 weeks or every month.
A popular way people are now doing that on a subscription basis to get their regular coffee?
Yeah, definitely. It's the way. And a lot of people, it means they haven't got to think about it really. And we've got subscriptions that will give you a different coffee every time, roaster's choice, and we take kind of the best coffee, and we try to get a different coffee every time. So if you go for roaster's choice, and it's a really good deal because you get some really expensive coffees along with some of the more normal ones. So there's a different coffee every month. So you get an actual, and you can go for a bright and fruity, which is the fruitier coffees like this one is, or you can go for the more traditional nutty, chocolatey tasting coffees, which I would say the mass market is probably that. People just like a nice coffee, and they don't want anything too wild and funky. But there's some people just look for that wild and funky, so that's what they're looking for.
Where do you sell your mail order coffee to then? Far and wide, well outside Shropshire, presumably?
Yeah. I mean, overseas as well, but mainly within the UK. I mean, it goes everywhere. Big market in London, obviously. Anywhere that's really into the coffee, and you can almost see the little areas that, Bristol's a big one, you go further north, Glasgow, these areas are just really into good coffee. So we get a lot of subscriptions going out every day, and we basically send them out raw mail, next day delivery.
So get them nice and quickly. Yeah. And you're also supplying to cafes and coffee houses across the UK as well.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a bigger part of the business is our support of coffee houses, coffee shops. They and you basically get Plumbing Jazz is our favourite coffee. Again, it's won a great taste award again this year. It's won quite a few, and the reason for that is it's kind of middle of the bell curve. It's what if you're really into coffee and you're looking for a beautiful coffee, you're going to say it's a nice coffee. So if you don't know anything about coffee and you just like a nice coffee, just make me a coffee, and then it's still going to be a great coffee. Some of the brighter coffees like this one, probably if you're not used to drinking brighter coffees, you're like, why is my coffee tasting of grapefruits and mango and all of this, and blackberry if you go into the Kenyan region. So it's so we're nearly there with that.
Brilliant.
Longer.
How has the business been impacted by the inflation, cost of living, material prices, all that sort of thing? Yeah,
I mean the big one that we're worrying about now. I mean, we went through Brexit, that put the pound fell against all the euro. That put the coffee prices up by. When I'm talking coffee, I'm talking the green coffee, which comes in as a it's basically a cherry or coffee bean. So you get two little green cherries. I've got some samples over there, but I'll walk across the camera, and that straight away, it's bought in dollars, that went up. So then continuing through that now with global warming, they had a frost in Brazil. They've had hurricanes. The hurricanes have been worse than normal in Central Americas, and all of this because it's a commodity coffee. It's traded by guys in suits. They've looked at that and said, that's going to create a thing. Right. So the coffee price has gone up.
Same as the oil price, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly the same. And it's comparable. I mean, it's gone up to 280% in the last 13 months now. So and kind of last week it went up another 20% overnight just because there's some flutter on the market. Are
you looking ahead then to buy in more when you can at a certain price?
Yeah, I've become a commodity trader, I think, rather than a coffee roaster because, I mean, the massive investments. You can imagine if you're going to buy 6 months worth of coffee, you're sort of 20, 30 tons of coffee in. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And there's always the fear that, I mean, it's a perishable commodity. you can buy it in Colombia. By the time it gets here, the container could have got wet or something, and it's a game over. So it's a sleepless night sort of thing. But yeah, and you can buy it spot as well. So there's warehouses within Europe and within the UK that have hold coffee there, and they just sell it out by the pallet or by the bag, and you can buy through that way as well. So
excellent.
That.
Very have a taste. Yeah. We are, aren't we?
Now I know you've been a bit of an advocate of the Kickstarter scheme, so which we've talked quite a bit about on the show.
That was simple in its idea. It was really simple. Just basically the government funded taking on people who haven't had a job, they haven't had the opportunity to get a job, and bring them on board, and they'll fund it for 6 months. I mean, that sounds quite simple, but the impact it's had on the young guys that we've had coming in, has been fantastic, and we've managed to keep on all of them, and one of our guys has gone off, and you see them change, and you probably when they first come they would be unemployable if you were trying, you have them in, and it takes time and effort, and I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there that maybe have just abused it a little bit, have taken these guys on and just said, right, just do this, sweep this, clean that, and everything. But we've tried to work through. So basically, the magic number is probably 3 or 4 months in. You've got to leave them. I mean, they've never had a job. That rite of passage that most of us have had as a young guy. So they've not got a lot really going. And we've seen the change over that time. Become more confident that they've got something to get up for. And I mean, some of our roaster, the guy who runs our machine, which is a bespoke machine, it's quite a complex machine to run. We had it built especially for us around our design, so there's nothing else like it in the world. And he's taken to it. It's just brilliant, and it's such a skilled job. You have to the focus you need, because you're following a profile, and you can change the air speed, you can change the drum speed, and the amount of energy going in, and all of this, and it's you're following on a computer, you're following a graph, I used to do it originally, obviously, but I don't know I could do it now to like 8 hours a day kind of thing, and the focus it takes, and he makes it look really easy.
You've got lots of other stuff to do now.
It is, you've got plenty to do.
Business to
Right,
do.
well, that's looking good.
Yeah.
And the smell's amazing, Carl.
It does. It smells lovely.
Yeah.
So tell me about the hatch as well that you've got by Shrewsbury train station.
Yeah, that's something I've been looking at for years. I've been driving past. It's such a beautiful spot there, and it's probably, the previous business wasn't doing the best by it. There's just posters at the windows, and most of the windows are blocked out. And as I took off all of the coverings on the windows, these beautiful windows are there, and everything else. So we weren't trying to. It was more about branding for us. It was more about awareness, and we wanted a little place where we could show our customers this is how we would run it. This is the gadget we would use, and this is how we do that, and this is how you should serve the coffee. But it's got such a good following now. We've got people. We're open early in the morning. People on the way to work. I'll try and put all these now. To be honest, I'd never make a great barista because I can't talk. I can't talk and make coffee, whereas some of the best baristas can have a full.
You've only got 5 cameras on you. Don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine.
So every time I get confident about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm nailing this, and it goes horribly wrong. There's using milk everywhere, and the guys what I'm going to do.
It's a good job then. I quite like a black coffee, and
black coffee all the way.
Yeah,
that's it.
Into one of our compostable cups, and you're talking about the decision. The bags are compostable.
I noticed that on the bags. That is a big part of the business.
It's not just important to a business these days; it's important to customers as well, isn't it?
It is to an extent. But how much they're prepared to pay for that when it comes down to it. A lot of them, because things are tight and it's hard at the moment. But we're sticking with it. My opinion was that somebody's got to be the first to do it, and by weight and numbers, the more people that do it, the cheaper the compostable cups will become, the cheaper the compostable bags. But all the raw materials have gone up now again, so that's one of many things that have gone up in price. There you go. So
perfect.
You can see this gives a really nice clean. It's a really nice clean thing. So it's just and the gas is beautiful red. It's like a nice.
Don't mind if I do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, might need to cool down a little bit.
Thank you.
I'm gonna put them down there.
So smell-wise, it's amazing.
Can we smell the tutti frutti? Oh, it's very light, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's
Very nice.
Oh, our temperature's just right.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
We
It's,
can sit and drink some coffee.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the Taste Awards.
Absolutely.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. You're in the British Food Finals as well, aren't you?
Yeah,
Taste
yeah, and
Finals,
that's
coming up, so-
another. I mean, we're through to the finals, so that's a different. There's only 8 people through to the finals. That's there's only, I think there's only 1 or 2 coffees out of the whole of the country, and we're through to that. So that we'll see that, I think, sometime the end of this month. Actually, we'll figure out whether we've done that, which will be a really. Yeah, and again, it's an endorsement of the team we've got.
Yeah.
We've got a really good team around us, and that's one of the secrets of business, as any
Absolutely.
business person knows. You need, it's the people you get around you, and it's taken us a while to learn that. It's taken us time to get the right people, but we've got some really good people that know what they're talking about when it comes to coffee, and they're great with customers as well, and they give
Fantastic.
the training support that anybody might need as a business.
Brilliant. Thank you,
Yeah.
Kev. If anyone
You're
wants
more
to
than
find out
welcome.
more information or find out about the products, I guess if they just search on Google,
Yeah.
Iron and Fire, they'll find more details.
And that's it. Yeah, and we do the training. We also supply machines, espresso machines. So if you're a business starting up, or if you need some help, even advice, we're not going to try and make you use our beans.
Yeah.
But if you need some advice, then we're there.
Perfect.
We're there to help out.
Thank you, Kev. Thank
Thank
you very much
you
for coming
very
in.
much
More-
indeed.
And
Let's
enjoy
enjoy
your
the
coffee.
coffee,
We're
yeah.
going to go and
Cheers.
drink some Tutti Frutti now. We'll be back after this break with our first Ask the Expert of the series and some business news as well.